Hello and welcome to the Hero Spouse. I'm Kendra Ruth, here to answer one of your questions about marriage and midlife crisis. Today we have an anonymous female left behind and forward-moving spouse with a bomb drop of May 8th, 2022 and a date of marriage of 2011. She has a low energy wallower and she says he's an off and on, but we've also got some clinging. He's kind of goes back and forth. So he's really more on boomerang and sometimes even clinging territory. So let's look at this. She says, for the first 3 months after bomb drop, my MLCer monstered and vilified me. Then he moved out. I found your page and implemented Smart Contact. And for anyone wondering, Smart Contact is something you can find from Marriage Helpers. It is a program by Dr. Joe Beam, and I recommend it. Okay, so she implemented Smart Contact and started working, she says, and working on me. He started being friendlier, and from about January of 2023 to July of 2023, he spent almost every minute of his free time at our house. So I'm going to go back for a moment. We had bomb drop May of 2022 and 3 months until he moved out. So we're giving April, June, and so he must have moved out around July. Then it was worked on implementing Smart Contact, and in January, the friendly phase, which she later calls the friendly phase, began. That's what So we have this July to January of practicing, and then it sounds like we gradually got to a fruition of friendly phase. So from January 2023 to July 2023, he spent almost every minute of free time at our house, eating dinner here, playing with our daughter, watching TV with me after she was in bed. Then, at the end of August, he told me he's filing for divorce. And he never wants to talk to me again, and I'm not supposed to contact him ever again outside of parenting questions. Their daughter is 6. So that's a long period ahead of co-parenting. In those first 3 months after bomb drop, he seemed super depressed. He went out to bars and he was drinking. So in at least those first 3 months, he was a high energy replayer. I can't say because I don't have a lot of information since then, but since she's described him as a low energy wallower, oftentimes low energy wallowers do just that. They try to be high energy replayers because it's a lot more fun to go out and party, avoid by drinking. Avoid by partying. Avoid by finding an alienator and having the limerence chemicals. Avoid, avoid, avoid. It often doesn't work for low energy wallowers, and so they just wind up depressed. So he seemed depressed. He went to bars. Then in the friendly phase, he stopped drinking. He worked out, and he seemed happier. Oh, I bet he was. Yeah. Ever since he served divorce papers, though, he's been worse than ever. He's drinking every night, and he's becoming worse with our 6-year-old daughter. While he was a decent dad, now he's neglecting her and dropping her off at his friend's house during his parenting time. What phase is this? Are there others with complete 180-degree switches like this? So the phase is the same. The phase is escape and avoid. And we have 2 types of escape and avoiders. We have high energy replayers and low energy wallowers. If he is a low energy wallower, he did the normal thing and tried to be a high energy replayer. Or he could be a high energy replayer. We'll look and see how it continues. But he is showing a lot of low energy behaviors as well, especially since you're recognizing this depression. So when you're saying, are there others with complete 180-degree switches? I think that's what you're referring to. How he's acting within the crisis, not the 180-degree switch from who he was before his midlife crisis to who he is during it. So rather than calling it a 180-degree switch, and your description of it is very good, you have a lot of insight into it, it seems, and it's a big swing. It's called cycling. And we might not see it as much, or say mine. He was a rapid cycler. So I would see 1 day, 1 hour, 2 weeks. Whereas you saw this very long cycle here and then a long cycle here. But it may be the same thing. He's just a longer. He's not a rapid cycler. And he's feeling a lot of fear and anger. And unfortunately, it is normal. I think most of them cycle more rapidly than what you're seeing. And so we will watch, and you'll watch and see how he does this. He may be in phases for 12 months, 3, 6, 12 months, rather than every few weeks. Mine was rapid. I saw personality changes that happened an hour later. And so you're going to think, oh, we're in a good phase here because it lasts so much longer than it might for others. And I want you to understand midlife crisis. The 3 to upwards of 7 part of it. So if you're in a good phase, and it's been a year and a half about now. Let's say you started another good phase again. And let's give you 6 months, because I've said that he might be a longer cycler. That doesn't mean it's over. I want you to still know. And I want you to be careful of that, because then I'm not telling you to wait for the other shoe to drop either. Wait for something to happen. It's just understand the cycles and understand the energy and the psychology that is behind this midlife crisis going through it. And when he moves away, follow the lead. And so he doesn't want you to contact him for anything but parenting. See, I'm really sorry you feel that way. Work on your smart contact. Remember what smart contact is. The first one is stop push behaviors. Good. That seems to do you good. It's also about keeping things neutral. So, or necessary. Parenting is necessary. Use that avenue and don't abuse it, because if he feels he's being manipulated by it, she didn't really need to call me about that. He'll catch you and he will call you on it. But you still have that. We need to be co-parenting for her. We have a birthday party for her and she would like us both there. That sort of thing. And now, so we need to be able to get along in that environment. And that matches what you said. No contact unless it is about parenting. This is about parenting. It's about spending time with her together and helping her through this. And it might not work. But those are the sort of things that you're going to work on doing and helping him, because we still want him to feel comfortable in your presence. But he also needs to know that he can feel safe getting angry, and you're not going to take it out on him. You're not going to lash back at him. And you're still going to set up a boundary and be nice. You're not going to victim at him. Oh my God, how could you say that to me? Or you're the one betraying me. He feels safe. And we don't want him to, no, we don't want somebody to feel safe abusing us. It does sound like that, doesn't it? We want them to feel safe that we are now not going to hold judgment on them as a bad person. Now, that is not the same as their behaviors. He has been dropping your daughter off at a friend's house. Now, there's a few things. Is that good or bad? First thing, I don't think it's good. But would it be worse because he's drinking? Is she safer with that friend? Would you prefer it? Like, hey, you know what? If you're not going to use your time to spend with her, find another time. Or do you need that time? Do you need that time off and need a break? Because maybe he shouldn't be taking her then. Or maybe he needs to be told, you know what? Your time with her, you need to spend with her. She's not supposed to go, this isn't her time for babysitting. So there's a boundary there, but you also have to be careful how you apply that boundary, how you talk about it, how you set it. Because are you shoulding on him? What kind of rules are going to go around each of your parenting time? Because there's some things that when you're with one parent, those are the rules with that parent. And they're different with this parent. Bedtime with dad is 9 o'clock. Bedtime with mom is 7:30. And maybe it's not because of weekends versus school nights. And there are some times where we just have to let it go. And there are some times where, I'm sorry, that's too big of a deal. We can't let it go. And you have to figure out what those are. But show him. And show him when you're upset. that you're still going to be soft. We need to talk about this because I'm concerned about it. Not, hey, you know what? Your behavior is inappropriate. And I'm worried that our daughter is going to learn bad things from you. Oh, that's just going to create resistance and defensiveness. And it's going to increase this anger. It's going to also increase I'm just going to wallow my sorrows in the bottle of Jim Beam. And we don't want to encourage that. It's not your fault that he's doing that. But let's not give him more excuses. Okay? So the biggest thing is the balancing act. Sorry. It's a balance. Because it's setting those boundaries and being firm and holding him to the fire with it, at least with parenting. And yet giving him space. Being okay. Being soft. Being compassionate. Having an undercurrent, everything rooted in empathy. And that is a hard thing to do because you are going to fall off that tightrope, and you know what's below it? It's the doormat. Or it's the angry, scorned person. You're going to fall off. And when you do, brush yourself off, forgive yourself, and get back on. What you're going through, it sucks, and it's normal. He's cycling. And he just seems to be one that cycles longer than some of them. I'm not convinced I would tell you he's not an off and on at all because you have a daughter and because there is co-parenting is involved. If he were an off and on and you have a daughter that young, he would have abandoned her probably completely unless you had some odd mediator. Okay. But there is communication between the two of you, and what boomerang means is that it gives you opportunity, which is why it's different than an off and on. It's just an increase in opportunity. It's not about the emotional connection. When he's clinging, that's about the emotional connection. Okay? Okay, I'm so sorry you're going through this. I'm so sorry your daughter is going through this. I hope this is helpful. And I will see everybody in the next